Hey guys, Jason here with a word to the wise. I have to show you guys something, and I'm going to say that I'm going to be using the Fair Use Act. If this is a public service announcement from the Canadian government of Alberta over the news channels to the people of the land, what have you. But they are saying that they're not going to comply with the 2030 carbon mandates of carbon-free energy systems, because they'll show you and they'll say why. But the thing that gets me is not this public service announcement. It's great that they're standing up for themselves, but it's that it's going to possibly be something that other people are going to grab onto. So whenever somebody is telling them that they need to be mandated to do such a thing to their people and they don't want to comply, well, look at what Florida did over the last 3 years. Look where Ron DeSantis is now. He is a hero. And look at California's governor and how he was such a bad guy because he was requiring such a thing from his people, and people were literally running from California in drones. And I heard it was the hardest place to move out of it because it was so expensive, because they didn't have moving vans in California. They had to have them pretty much driven back to California for people to acquire them to then move out. And people were moving to Texas, people were moving to Florida, people were moving anywhere that they weren't. Of course I'm sitting next to the car that's honking itself. Anyway, watch this video and just see and imagine if this winter they say, you know what, we have to mandate these things and you all need to comply, every 50, all the 50 states, because of carbon, because of food, because of money, because of health reasons. And when you have people standing up, like I believe South Dakota did not comply with any kind of the headgear, or what was it? Florida had its own stance on many different things. They've been battling with the school systems. They've been battling with Disney World, with the medical industry. Imagine when you have people saying, we are going to invoke our sovereignty and we'll pull away and we'll do whatever we have to, however we have to, when, the way we want to. So check out this video, please. Also, please excuse the noise. I work in a very noisy factory, so there's a lot of air and electrical motors and machinery going on in the background. I tried to weed it out as much as I could, so bear with me.
Consumers and businesses will see their bills soar. Bob persists in trying to regulate and remake Alberta's electrical system from generation to transmission to distribution, which will make life more expensive for families and put the reliability of our grid at risk. And they're pushing ahead with their plan, even though Section 92A of the Constitution of Canada is clear that legislating and regulating the development of electricity falls within the jurisdiction of the provinces. Alberta's government is committed to protecting Albertans from federal overreach. That is why this afternoon I intend to table a resolution in the chamber under the Alberta Sovereignty within a United Canada Act. We developed this legislation to shield the province from federal intrusions, and we're using it now because the consequences of this particular overreach would be so severe. Alberta will bear the largest share of the expenses required to meet these absurd targets, and consumers and businesses will see their bills soar. If the federal government has its way, many people will be left without electricity that they can pay for, on a power grid that will fall short or even fail in a typical Alberta winter or summer. We refuse to go along with this plan. I mean, if they come through with the clean electricity regs, they will be mandating that we have to have essentially an emissions-free power grid by 2035. That means no one will build natural gas. We don't have a regulatory framework to build nuclear. No one will build nuclear. We don't have the resources to build hydro. No one will build hydro. So if we do not act, we will end up with instability in our grid. We will either not be able to grow as a province, or we will end up with brownouts and blackouts. That's the pathway that the federal government is giving us. And I've just said, no, we are not doing that. We're going to build enough baseload power so that we can continue to keep up with growth, which will be doubling the amount of power that we need, and we'll build whatever we need to. In our market, what makes sense is natural gas, abated to the best available technology available right now, which may not be in sync with the federal targets, but I want our industry to be able to make the best effort, and we'll see. I mean, if they're not prepared to take the risk that their executives are not going to be thrown in jail in 2035, then we'll have to be the generator of last resort, and we will have to build that ourselves. But this is the conversation we have to have with the industry about how do we de-risk these projects to make sure that they get, businesses get, and Albertans get what they need. Those measures are not something that we want to do. They are a plan to counteract the absurd, illogical, unscientific, and unconstitutional interference in Alberta's electrical grid by a federal government that simply doesn't care what happens to our province so long as they have a good virtue signaling story to tell their leftist friends and special interests. We would much rather work with Ottawa on meaningful ways to reduce emissions while continuing to generate reliable, affordable electricity. That's better for all Albertans and Canadians. But we refuse to meekly accept actions which are so plainly destructive to Alberta's economy and to the very safety and security of Alberta citizens. We will do whatever we must to stand up and protect the people of this province.